It's a challenge that we haven't had since 2004.
Vermont dairy farmers are facing a crisis in 2018: low pay prices. The pay price is what the farmer receives for each 100 pounds of milk their cows produce. The pay price for conventional and organic milk is down by about 15% in 2018 as compared to the previous few years, according to the University of Vermont Extension. The drop in price is primarily due to an oversupply. Pembroke Heritage Farm in Randolph Center is a certified organic dairy run by Tony and Christine Brown. The Browns are able to weather the current crisis a bit better than others because their farm is paid for. And yet, Christine Brown doesn't want her business losing money.
The last 2 years, the price has been dropping. And this year, I project it's going to be worse, and for about 25% of our income will be lost. So for us, because we're debt-free, is better because we have more room for flexibility, whereas a lot of farmers have tremendous infrastructure costs that have been financed, and they don't have that wiggle room that we have. And so it's very challenging for those farmers right now, and I'm concerned about the industry in general because of that.
Brown was one of several presenters at a panel on financial basics at the 2018 Vermont Organic Dairy Producers Conference, organized by UVM Extension.
A packed agenda again this year.
On average, organic dairy farmers receive twice the pay price of conventional farmers. In the first quarter of 2018, the average conventional pay price was about $15 per hundredweight, while the average organic pay price was about $30. That's according to the Vermont Agency of Agriculture. The higher organic pay price is due to increased costs to produce organic milk. In addition, organic milk companies like Organic Valley Co-op, which has 119 farms in Vermont, including the Browns, uses a quota system to try to control supply. Besides the low pay price, there were other factors affecting all Vermont dairy farms in 2018.
There's a lot of pressure on farms. There's water regulations from the state that are costly infrastructure improvements. There's animal welfare for organic requirements that are more and more pressures for housing concerns and what your barn looks like. So for many farmers, that may mean costly infrastructures that need to be adapted or built to meet demands. If you have a very small margin to begin with, like many farmers do, it leaves very little leeway. So you add that on top of the price cut, it obviously affects, farmer morale and everything else. It's almost like a perfect storm at this point.
So an example might be accruing accounts payable.
Another speaker on the Financial Basics panel was Andy Wood, a loan officer with the Vermont Agricultural Credit Corporation's loan program. It's the lending arm of the state of Vermont's economic development and finance lender.
Certainly milk prices are down, both organic and conventional, and that's going to lead to some challenges, and looking at the best way to manage through it. Both industries, however, are very strong for the state of Vermont. We have a large number of dairy farms and a large number of processing co-ops, and it's going to be an industry that will be strong long term, but certainly will be some challenges this year.
Wood stressed having a business plan and up-to-date record-keeping in his presentation.
You have to have a business plan, you have to think about why you're doing things, but for most of us, at the end of the day, there's some amount of money that business needs to generate to have the livelihood that people need. So there has to be a relationship between the decisions you make and the finances. I like to see current, so I like to see that you're able to generate an income statement that's within 30 days, that you have an annual balance sheet, and that you have a general sense of where your balance sheet is at any point in time.
I can't tell you yet if it's a good year or a bad year. It's just we need to get ready to operate with these lower milk prices.
Jordy Lind milks 75 cows on his farm in South Walden. He's diversified his business with a sugaring operation and a breeding sow business. Andy Wood's advice about up-to-date record-keeping was a reminder to Lind about his current financial situation.
I do think now it would pay us to become better at managing the budgeting and record keeping. We'd been thinking for a while, boy, we could get a lot better and sharper with the numbers, and seeing them today gave us more reason to want to try.
If there's a silver lining to this cloud of financial gloom that settled over Vermont's dairy farms in 2018, it may be as simple as this. It does pay to be hopeful.
You don't do this business if you're not optimistic. We've been lucky. We got started right after the 08-09 dairy crisis. We had several years of good prices to build up and get on our feet as a business. It was steady. And we're taking our first real licking, so we're new at this. I don't blame more experienced operators if they're a little more sick of the beating, but we're in our first real tough price period, and we're hoping it's not too long or too low, but we're optimistic for lack of any better idea.
Back at Pembroke Heritage Farm, Brown leans on her experience as a dairy farmer for the support she needs to ride out this current crisis.
It's going to take a while for the situation to stabilize, but the reality is in the dairy world, there's always been up and down cycles, and to expect it not to affect organic in some ways is rather naive, I think. And so you need to kind of always be prepared in some aspect for that volatility. And for us, in the next year, we'll probably reassess some costs and find things that you could, perhaps do a better job with. But record keeping is the perfect place to start because you've got to know where you're at to begin with.
No matter if a farmer operates a conventional or organic dairy, 2018 is shaping up to be a challenging year. Perhaps 2019 will be better. Vermont dairy farmers can only hope. In Randolph Center, I'm Keith Silva with Across the Fence.